We are live. We're live.
Yes,
What's
sir.
going on, people? Welcome to episode 94 of Any Given Sunday for Sunday, September 11th, 2022. I'm your host, Manny Brown, not joined by my usual co host, Josh Rodriguez. I'll tell you why in a second. But the fill in is my brother, my guy. I don't even got to say my guy, it's just my brother, Jut. What's going on?
Hey, man, I'm happy to come off the bench, like pinch hitting, whatever. But I'm straight, bro.
Hey,
I'm
there's a lot of
happy to be
important people
back.
to come off the bench, man.
Hey,
There's a
I'm
lot of
Ginobili out.
important
I'm
six men out
Ginobili
there. You
out
know what I
here.
mean? So
Fresh
whatever
in the Hall
happens.
of Fame, Ginobili.
Yep. What's good, man? How's life?
Creeping up on 100, man.
Yeah. How's life? How's everything?
Life's good, man. Life's good. Like we was talking in pre-pro, about to make this moving out of Boston, moving to Connecticut, work stuff, personal life stuff is so everything is good, bro. Can't complain too much. Gas prices coming down. What
Finally,
else?
right?
What else? What else? What else we need?
Finally, right? Damn.
I'll take some deflation next.
Yeah. For real. For real. I know it's been a
I was
minute,
about to I was about to
listeners.
say something real problematic.
All
My
right.
bad for cutting you off.
No,
Nah,
good.
I gotta stop myself. I was gonna say there's a certain monarch now walking the earth, so colonialism down a little bad today.
Hey, well, in the pantheons of colonial all stars, man, we lost another legend in the colonial all stars.
Prayers all the way down.
Prayers all the way down to the highness the royal lady of Her Majesty's Great Britain and UK, whatever the fuck. I don't know. Yeah, Queen. Yeah. R.I.P. R.I. R.I. Whatever.
Uh,
You
uh,
know.
I actually hope she doesn't rest, but that's I'm
Touche,
sorry.
sir. Touche, sir. It might be problematic in some circles, but we don't care.
I'm
This is what we do here.
just speaking for those who can't.
We speak our minds here, man. We speak our minds here.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I was gonna say, I know it's been a minute. We're back from our summer hiatus. You know how for the listeners that have been following for a long time, y'all know we usually take the summer off. I know it's been a year of a lot of breaks just with life, man. Josh got a new position, I got a new position, new house. I was homeless for like 9 months. Y'all don't even know the deal. So life has been topsy turvy in 2022. So the podcast is unfortunately has been topsy turvy as well. But we are officially back. No more breaks. We're here to the end of the year for sure. And we'll take some holiday breaks here and there. I mean, I'm sorry, I may not give you a Christmas Day podcast, for understandable reasons. But I think most people can understand that. And a New Year's Day as well, too. But yeah, man, we're back. Glad to be back. It's crazy, man. We take the summer off, and it feels like most times during the summer, there's not really a lot going on. But this summer felt like it was mad shit going on. Like, you
Summer was
know,
going crazy.
just not just in sports, but just in the world in general, right? So yeah, it was a crazy summer to take off, but unfortunately, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So,
Life be getting in the way of shit we want to do for fun, bro.
yeah, man, and most people know, this isn't our day jobs. Even Josh has a day job, so we have other shit we're doing, But hey, I stay busy on the podcast front. Josh stays busy on the podcast front. You do stuff from time to time, so if you want to listen to us, you can definitely get at us. But yeah, man, my man Jet is as always for the people that have listened to the show before. He's been on post Super Bowl shows and whatnot. Y'all know he's on the East Coast, so we're gonna keep this show relatively shorter than our normal kind of Sunday night live streams. Since I don't want to keep the man up to 2 a.m. in the goddamn morning, and he's got to go pay bills in the morning. So now we're gonna keep this relatively short, but we're just gonna do our week one overreactions, man. We're gonna kind of go through each game, just kind of highlight a couple points from each game and what stood out to us, what didn't stand out to us, that sort of thing, and just kind of talk about some of the news items of the day. We're gonna just keep it on NFL today. We're not gonna cover anything else since, like I said, just an hour, so that'll be pretty much filled up with just mostly NFL talk. So yeah, let's get it. I
Yeah,
figured
bro.
since I got you on, why not start with the Sunday night football game? I mean, we usually start with the Sunday night football game anyway, since it's fresh in our minds. But
Perfect timing, though.
you are a
Perfect.
Buccaneers fan, so I
Yes,
guess it's
sir.
perfect timing. Perfect time. Oh, and matter of fact, big ups to the homie Josh. He is dealing with
Yeah,
COVID
yeah.
19, the old the old COVID has struck and has got him down bad. So
You
yeah,
didn't get
man, big
COVID,
ups
did
to
you? Have you
Josh.
gotten COVID, bro?
Yeah, I got it last year. I got it
Yeah,
last
same.
year.
I got it in
I didn't get it. I
21.
didn't get
Yeah,
a chance
bro.
to talk about it on the show, but yes, I got COVID right during when we took our hiatus. I got COVID. I got COVID around Christmas, so I was
I think
down
you
for
told me
like
that
yeah.
COVID hit all the real niggas except for Donald Trump.
Apparently, man. Apparently, I feel like everybody's had COVID at this point. Even if you didn't have
Pretty,
the symptoms, I feel
you
like
had
even
that
if you
shit.
haven't been diagnosed, I feel like we all had COVID at one point.
Everybody had that shit, bro. Everybody.
It's too prevalent to not have had it, right? So that's how I feel. That's just my little
Shots
conspiracy
to
theory.
Josh though. Get better soon, dog. That
Yeah,
shit
man.
ain't
Shout
no
out to
joke,
Josh.
man.
He'll join us on the show next week, of course. Hopefully, if he's feeling better and he's healthy and all that. So we give him a much night off since he's dealing with it down bad. So that's why he's not on the show tonight. But yeah, man. Let's start with the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
19-3. I don't want to say thrashing, but for lack of a better word, thrashing of the
that
Cowboys.
was a kind thrashing, I guess. It was
A gentleman thrashing.
yeah,
How about
yeah,
that? A
yeah,
gentleman's
yeah.
thrashing.
It was a
But yeah,
polite. It was
19-3
a Canadian thrashing, if you will.
for sure. But 19-3. I mean, let me get your thoughts. I mean, the stage is yours. You're a Buccaneers fan, so
Yeah,
how you
bro.
feeling tonight about this?
I mean, I think like mostly, I guess the biggest thing that stood out to me is the offensive line is not there, right? So Jensen's out probably for the year.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be back late. Maybe he'll be back in time for the playoff run. But even that's a problem because you got to get back into football shape, especially being on the offensive line. You can't hide somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like you could put somebody on a pitch count. Like Chris Godwin was supposed to be on a pitch count today. I think Julio Jones was on a pitch count today. They ran that nigga into the ground. They was treating him like Percy Harvin. But yeah, and then Donovan Smith goes out. Hopefully it's not too bad for him. This dude allowed, I think, 1 sack last year. So that's a big loss. And especially your 49-year-old quarterback, 1,000-year-old quarterback's blindside. And Tom's not exactly Mike Vick out there either. You know what I mean? So having that blindside protection is for any quarterback is important, but let alone a dude with cinder blocks for feet. You know what I mean? So that's tough. But I think in general, the offense looked a little rusty. Receivers kind of weren't making their breaks. Tom looked a little rusty, but given how much time he missed out of camp to deal with whatever the hell it was that he was dealing with, if him and Giselle's getting divorced, whatever it is, I don't want to speculate on the man's personal life, but
Looks like we got you still there?
Michael Parsons is an alien. You're not going to do a whole lot to neutralize him, but run blocking, the line did awesome. Just getting into dogfights out there. So that was cool to see. It was good to see Lenny, shutting up a lot of people that was talking about him gaining weight over the offseason, but he looked quick out there.
Yeah,
he looked
Fournette
strong.
looked good. Yeah.
Yeah. You see him clean up Parsons on that little chip.
He did. I saw that.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, man, defense looked great. But I think the real concern, I'm not going to get too hyped. I'll drop a couple hot takes as we go on. But it's week one. Week one, not really going to tell you a whole hell of a lot. You know what I mean? But I thought overall, the Cowboys, though, I think I spend most of the time talking about them. Like the Bucs are what they are. You know what I'm saying? That's a Super Bowl team. They got, now you can say they got Super Bowl pedigree. They got guys back healthy. Carlton Davis looked amazing. He was clamping CeeDee Lamb, him and Jamel Dean. I ain't heard CeeDee Lamb's name. I don't think I heard it really the whole second half.
Unfortunately for me, he's my starting wide receiver in fantasy, but what is what it is.
That's a tough break, bro.
It is what it is. Hey, but good looks on Josh Allen though. I got Josh Allen as my quarterback, so I made out pretty. I think I made out.
You can do a lot worse.
I did all right.
But yeah, bro, the Cowboys, man. I think it's obvious, and it's been obvious for a couple years, and we talked about this before, but like Dak ain't it. Like he's just not him. Like not even close to being him.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I mean, well, listen, everything that you said about the Buccaneers is spot on. I can't even argue. I mean, honestly, it's not even a surprise. Like the Buccaneers are what they are. I mean, if you listen, as long as you got 12 back there, upright, healthy. I know he's going through some family turmoils right now, but as long as you've got the GOAT back there, and he's healthy and he's upright, and you've got the weapons that they've got, and they've got the pedigree now, and it's crazy to say
Yeah.
that the Buccaneers have pedigree, but they do,
That's what I had to stop myself for a second because I was about to be like, "What am I talking about?" But then I remember we actually won a chip. Like we've been
Yeah,
bad for so long, dog,
yeah,
that it's like
yeah,
it's crazy to
yeah.
talk about the Bucks in this light. But I think the other point though that I almost forgot to make that you just reminded me of is like relying on like obviously you can rely on Tom Brady, right? Like
Right.
nobody would be crazy. You'd be crazy not to. But I think the good thing about this team now is like on a day like today where the passing game is not fully clicking, right? You can use Leonard Fournette and Rashad White now. Rashad White, like pretty good rookie out of Arizona State, but you can use them to control the clock now. With that defense playing like that, you don't have to rely on 75-year-old Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, even tonight you saw Brady is still Brady at times. It's crazy with Brady, right? Because he's not the same quarterback per se that he was even just 10 years ago, where he could just dominate a game. I mean, he still has his moments where he can dominate a game, but he doesn't really need to. Now it's more of like he dominates the games in pockets, right? Where there's a moment in time in the game where he can dominate. He'll have a series where he'll make 6 or 7 just great, immaculate throws. So, I think he's more in that phase now of his career, obviously being 45 years old or whatever. But listen, like I said it before in my lead-in, as long as Tom Brady's back there, the Bucks are fine. I still think they're the best division, or the best team in that division. They might be the best team in the NFC when it's all said and done, because that's
I don't
the other
think it's a
thing.
big. I don't think it's a big stretch to say that, and I'm not even saying that as a
No.
homer because I'm usually pretty critical of my team, but I
Yeah,
don't think it's a big stretch. The
yeah.
Rams,
Well,
again, it's week one, but like,
we'll get around the team. We'll obviously we'll helicopter around and look at all
yeah, yeah,
analyze
yeah.
all the games or whatever. But I think right now, the idea of the demise of the Buccaneers I think is greatly exaggerated. I mean, listen, are they going to go 15-2? Probably not. But I still think when it's all said and done, they'll win their 11, 12, 13 games and be right there at the end. So I
Yep.
don't think there's anything really earth shattering or news breaking with the Buccaneers. As far as the Cowboys, man, I think it's just a continuation of last year. Kind of the same issues, the same problems, the inconsistency on offense. Now they don't have Amari Cooper anymore.
Nope.
Um, the defense. I didn't think the defense played particularly bad, but they still gave up too many big plays. Um,
It's their secondary.
the secondary is still an issue.
That front
Um,
seven is great, but only so much
yeah,
you can do.
but at the end of the day, you might be right. Listen, I've defended Dak. It's crazy. I've kind of been a Dak defender or a Dak apologist because I think he
Yeah,
is a
definitely
solid
apology.
quarterback. I think he is a really good quarterback and a solid quarterback, but he's the kind of guy that when things break down around you, he can't function, right? Like Dak is the perfect quarterback when you've got everything working for you. He's got a good offensive line, a good running game, a
Agree.
good defense. He will deliver. He will do the job. But when you're relying on him to kind of be that calming influence or that stabilizer, I don't know if you can get that from Dak. And some people will say, well, that makes him not great. And they're probably right. But if you think that Dak is a Brady or a Rodgers or whatever, one of those guys that can win in spite of the situation around them, he's not that guy. And I think he's proven that more times than not. And I think this game is emblematic of that. Now, obviously, he's got the injury. He's going to probably be out several weeks.
He's
I don't
he's he's a less good version of Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah, I, yeah. He's essentially Donovan McNabb, right? Um, Obviously with more weapons than Donovan McNabb ever had, but yeah, I think it's crazy. But Dak is low hanging fruit. The Cowboys, to me as a whole,
Yeah.
man, I just think there's a lot of question marks on this team. That's why I didn't like them when I made my preseason picks. I just didn't really like the Cowboys. I didn't see it with the Cowboys. Um, they have talent, and I don't think they're going to completely fall off a cliff. But I just don't know. I don't know what to make of this team. It's crazy. The times
It's a
they look great, and then the other times they look really bad, and there's no real in between with them. So you're kind of just left like, what is this team? They have the
it's a
talent to
deeper
go 11.
problem.
They have the
Exactly. It's
talent.
a
They have the talent to go 12-5, but they also have the talent to go like 9-8 or 8-9. So it just
exactly.
Yeah, I really don't know what
It's
to make of the Cowboys.
it's a deeper problem than what's on the field, though, right? Like you said, like they've got talent. Like if you look at this team on paper, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's where we get into that transition, right? You get into that transition from training camp, preseason, week 1, week 2, week 3, right? You look at teams on paper because you don't have a sample size big enough to really flesh out how they perform, right? So when you
Yeah,
look at the Cowboys on paper, you look at Dak, you look at Zeke, you look at Pollard, you look at Gallup, you look at CD, right? You're like, oh damn, like this is a winning, this is a potentially a division winning team. At worst, probably a wild card team, maybe. Tough. NFC is real weird, right? You have a
yeah,
lot of teams and we'll talk about this later, but you have a lot of teams who aren't over the hill, right? But they're and not in terms of age, right? I'm talking about getting over the hump, right? If we're talking about getting to the playoffs, you have teams who are just there, right? And they hit luck at the right time, they hit their stride at the right time, and they're able to get through, right? So if you look at the Cowboys, you say, "Oh shit!" Like, all right, we got Michael Parsons, we got Diggs when he's making plays. Every time else, that's neither here nor there. You know, um, solid front seven, right? Then you look at the offense, like I said, and you go, not bad. But the problem is exactly what you said. But I think, with Dak's mentality, and I hate talking about black quarterbacks and mentality, right? Because I sound like fucking in my mind, I feel like I'm being like,
you out here like
like
Bill
some,
Polian and shit.
yeah, bro. Like, but what Dak is true. Like
Yeah,
he needs a 75-degree day, no humidity, no rain to win you games, right? And so, but I think to further that, some of this has to go on. The coaching staff just doesn't put that team in
well,
good
that
positions.
was going to be my next biggest thing. I think the biggest issue with the Cowboys, and I think a lot of people feel like this is the case, has just been coaching. They've been severely porous at the coaching position for a while. With Jason Garrett and now McCarthy, and I've been
No reason
also.
McCarthy should have that job.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I was wrong about McCarthy because I've been also a McCarthy. I don't want to say defender, but I think people kind of like I feel like Twitter goes overboard with McCarthy, like he's the worst coach ever, like ever put on earth. Like there's been worse coaches than Mike McCarthy. But so in a way, I've been like by default a defender. But yes, listen, I have no delusions of grandeur. I think Mike McCarthy's way over his head. He's just not a good coach, and he's not the good coach for this team. And I guess that's the biggest theme. We're gonna go through each game and kind of find a theme. Each one of us gonna
Yeah.
find a theme. But I think the biggest theme for this game and for the Cowboys specifically is the countdown for Sean Payton has begun officially.
Do you think that's a legitimate thing? Do you think like if we're speaking hypotheticals, like yeah, I guess I
Right.
suppose that it could happen, but I really I just don't believe that Sean Payton's number one. I find it hard to see him coach for another team that's not the Saints, right? But two, I feel like he kind of got to where he needed to go professionally. Like I just don't see what's in it for him to go to the Cowboys. So that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong in asking that question because I kind of feel you on that. Like, I think that it's like it's almost been overstated that like, oh, it's just nothing. It's all but a guarantee that Sean Payton's going to coach the
It
Cowboys.
feels too obvious to me. That I
It
think
is.
that's
It is too obvious, but I think regardless of Sean Payton, independent of Sean Payton, I think Mike McCarthy, if he doesn't get it done this year, he's going to be fired. So there's that. And then the obvious connection people are going to make is Sean Payton. I think if Sean Payton wants the job, he has the job. Now it's going to be the case of does Sean Payton actually want the job? To answer that question, I don't know. I'm not Sean Payton, but I think I think
you
with
wouldn't be
Sean,
talking to me right now.
right? But I think with Sean Payton, right? I think it's going to come down to how much control of the roster and personnel he's going to get, right? Because I think money is no object. Like I think the Cowboys will pay him because he's has a resume that's commensurate of being paid as a top coach. The problem is going to be Sean Payton's going to want a level of control and say so that I don't know that Jerry or even Stephen Ross are going to allow him to have. So then that becomes okay. Is Sean Payton going to say no or is he going to say yes? You know how it is, man. The Cowboys are like every big job in sports. When that, like in basketball, I don't care who the basketball coach is. The Lakers call, you're going to answer the phone. The Celtics
Yep.
call, you're going to answer the phone.
Yep.
Same thing in baseball. The Yankees call, you're going to answer the phone. Hockey,
Oh,
the Canadians call or the Maple Leafs call, you're going to answer the phone. And the same thing in
yeah.
football. The Cowboys call, you're going to answer the phone. You may not take the job, you may not take the meeting, but you're going to answer the call because that's just
You gonna take a day to think about it at the very
right.
least.
Because it's
You gonna
fucking
consult with the
Cowboys. You know
wife.
what I mean? Right. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of with you. I don't know if it's a grand slam, just obvious, like, oh yeah, it's just they're just keeping the seat warm for Sean Payton. I think either way, I think McCarthy is on watch, and I think he's gonna lose his job if
Yeah,
he doesn't get it straight out.
that seat's warm. Like I would say I would take it a step further and
Yeah.
say that seat is a little past warm. It's uncomfortable to the
I
touch.
mean,
I would say.
he could be an in-season fire. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's what I
wouldn't
was
rule
thinking.
that out.
Like when you said, like, it's funny, like when we're talking and you know how like you just kind of think about something that you pull something out when somebody said, like when you're saying, you know, maybe if he doesn't get it done this year, and I'm just like, bro, it might not be this year. Like I would have to
Nigga, it
look at
might
their
be
schedule.
Halloween. It might be
Bro, I was
Halloween.
about to say Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Being generous. I'm feeling
Yeah.
generous in my old age, but I digress. Like,
Yeah.
but I have to look at the schedule and see because just the way they look tonight, man. Like Kellen Moore to an extent, but then again, it's like, bro, can you really blame him when Dak just? I struggle to think, like, part of me as a football fan and as a Bucks fan, right? I want to say defense was handling it, and I think to an extent that's true. Like the pass rush was getting there, they were breaking the pocket down, the corners were locking shit up. Um, you know, linebackers had a great. Devin White had a great night, but at the same time, the placement's not there on some of those balls. You know, that touch that needs to be there. You know, if you're playing against NFL corners, and especially now with these new breeds of NFL corners who are 6'1", 6'2", 3,
Yeah.
long arms, rangy, those windows are incredibly tight, right? That just didn't seem like he got settled into the game at all.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a problem moving forward.
He didn't seem comfortable, and he doesn't have the advantages that he used to have. That offensive line is not as good as it used to be.
And they lost a starter tonight.
And they lost a starter tonight, and Zeke feels like he's a shell of what he used to be.
He looked good early on. Actually,
he looked early on, but
let's stay on Zeke for a second. That's a great point because all those years of, like, I know, like, all the jokes about him eating and shit like that, like no Eddie Lacy.
Listen,
But
there's a lot of tread on the tires, man. So I'm not surprised.
bro.
And they used up a lot of that tread in Ohio State too. So I'm not surprised. And then he's had knee issues too.
Yep.
So
He's like a 90. He's like a 98 Accord out here.
Yeah, so he may be at the end. I don't want to spend too much time on this game because I know we got
that's enough. That's probably enough.
But yeah, I think that would be my overall theme. The Bucks are the Bucks. I don't even think I don't think most people are even surprised at the outcome. I would say the level of domination, but the outcome is the outcome. I think
I'll say there's the last
game is
yeah.
No, I was gonna say the theme for this game is the Cowboys are on countdown.
Yeah. The only thing that I have to say is I think points on the board really is the thing that I said. The Bucks left a lot of points on the board. They left a lot of touchdowns out there. I expect that to get cleaned up. So that rolls back into the other point where the Bucks are going to be fine. I think not really a surprise. It's week 1.
Yeah. So let's move around a little bit. I guess in the NFC East, Giants Titans. Theme for me is I think the Giants might have a head coach for the first time in a long time.
They look good, man.
They looked good. Now, listen, it's one game. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like all of a sudden the Giants are now going to win that division and go 10-7. No, but I think for the first
Danny Dimes back there.
Well, yeah. Well, but I think for the first time in a long time, I think the Giants have some hope. It's still going to take a while, but I think they've got a pretty decent coach. Brian Daboll is a good play caller, and he looks like he's got a good pulse as far as having the pulse of that team.
Mhm.
They won today, which I think was their first, which was crazy to me. Their first opening week win since in
Yeah.
6 years, which is crazy. So, yeah, I hate the Giants, but kudos to them at least for the first time in 6 years they got a win on week one. They start 1-0, and yeah, they might have a coach.
Yeah, I think the important thing about that is like they look like a team out there today. You
Yeah,
haven't seen that type of cohesion with the Giants in quite some time, I would say. I'll say at least the last 3 years or so, maybe more.
more than that. Yeah, more than
Yeah,
that. Um,
generous night for me. But I think that's the big thing is cohesion. I think they look like a team. Look like
yeah.
they have potential to have something.
True, and Saquon's healthy, and he looks healthy, so that's a big plus for them if he is healthy because he's their best player by
Yeah,
far.
for sure.
Um, let's move around. Let's go to Chiefs Cardinals. I guess the theme for
You
me
don't
is
nothing to say about the Titans?
I mean, no, because I think see this is the crazy thing about games like this, right? We're praising the Giants, right? Oh, they won, great. If suck up makes the kick, right? It's we look at this game maybe totally different, right? So that's literally the difference between winning and losing in the NFL, right? Suck up makes that cake. We're like, hey, Titans won. They're one of the best teams in the NFC or in the AFC. Blah blah blah. Yada yada. Da da da. They lose. All praise to the Giants, and the Titans are like, the Titans,
Yeah,
right? So it's weird how that works sometimes. No, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say I sat down and watched a lot of that game. I,
mhm.
I watched the fourth quarter, and the Titans are the Titans, man. They're gonna struggle to score big time points.
Yep.
Tannehill is what he is. He's a solid quarterback, but he's not great. And if Derrick Henry isn't literally carrying that team on his back, um, the Titans are what they are. I still think they're probably I don't want to say the favorite, but maybe the co-favorite to win that division with the Colts. And yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't see enough from the Titans to kind of sway me one way or another with them.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think Tannehill had a couple of good throws. I think he is who he is at this stage of his career. I think like there's
Yeah,
nothing fucking groundbreaking about that, and that team goes on Derrick Henry's legs, which is troublesome for a team. Um, you know, over reliance on the run is not really a recipe for success in the NFL in 2022.
yeah,
So yeah, I agree. I think as a whole, I'm sure we'll get into the numerous kicking woes today, but yeah, I was just curious if you had
yeah. I mean,
anything
that's a
about that,
that's a
but
that's a
I
that's a
agree.
theme of the overall schedule today is just kicking, but we'll save that. But
Yeah,
yeah, nah, I didn't have anything on the Titans, man. I think the Titans are the Titans. I think they're gonna miss AJ Brown for real though. So
yeah. I
it
like
is what it
Traylon
is.
Burks, but he's not AJ Brown. I think in a year or two he might be
He
AJ
might be.
Brown light.
Yeah.
He might be AJ Brown light, but right now I think that was a really risky departure for them. That's a really risky move to get him out of there for the return that they got.
Yeah.
And trying to do a one-for-one replacement with the rookie with the season pro. I think the decline for both Henry and Tannehill are not going to coincide with the kind of ascent with Traylon Burks, and I think that team's just a misfire on timing for their window. So, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's
You're right.
probably more time than anybody spent talking on the Titans in 2 years. So,
Unless you live
uh,
in Nashville.
unless you live
Um,
in Nashville, and there's other shit to talk about.
right. Vikings and the Packers. And boy,
Let me load my clip
again,
up.
again, I don't want to overreact too much to it because it's like it's week one. There's a lot of new receivers. Devontae Adams is gone. They've had some injuries to the offensive line. Um, so I don't want to overreact too much to it, but yeah, that was not a good look for the Packers, bro. Like yeah, they did not look really, really good. Rodgers didn't look really good. Again, I don't want to make too much of it, but yeah, Packers did not look good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think I've been vocally critical of Aaron Rodgers over the years. I've called it straight. I think he could do amazing things. He's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen throw the ball. Probably the best arm talent I've seen. But there's just something about Aaron Rodgers in certain situations that I can't even begin to verbalize it. But when you see it, you'll be like, you see,
He's a bully.
Like,
he's a bully.
I think when he's a flat track bully, right? Like when you need him to step up against a big team, like I'm sure somebody will call me out and say, nah, like on this day, on this game in the fourth quarter, Aaron Rodgers did this. Cool. I'll happily be wrong about that. But it just seems to me that when shit's going well, Aaron Rodgers balling out of control. But that drop off from when he looks bad, and like a quarterback can have a complete meltdown. It happens all the fucking time.
Right.
But I just find these moments for Aaron Rodgers to be occurring a little bit too much for my liking, and especially for his attitude. And I try not to get into that whole thing again about players' attitudes and shit like that. But let me tell you, if fucking, I don't know, if Lamar Jackson acted the way that Aaron Rodgers did and had a game like this, the media will be all over his ass. Aaron Rodgers consistently gets a pass, and I think that's part of the reason that I be having some smoke for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're not wrong. I wish we had more time to really kind of delve into it, but listen, for the greatness of Aaron Rodgers, he's a little bit of a bully, right? Like you said, or a front runner, whatever you want to call it, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. But when things are going great, everything is great. He's dancing, discount, double check, all that good stuff. The cockiness, the arrogance is there, and you could say that's a part of what makes him great, right? But I think that the issue with him is he doesn't seem, his body language. He doesn't seem like a very good leader at times. I think he leads by just his greatness, just being great at what he does.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily make you a leader of men, a guy that people want to run through a wall for. And that can be a little bit overrated sometimes in sports.
For sure.
But
especially from the quarterback position.
Exactly. But I don't know. I think you're onto something that for him, he's got a little bit of Stafford in him in the sense that when it's bad, it's really bad. Like, it's like when there's no in between. When he's great, obviously he's top 3 all time, arguably. But when he's bad, it's just like it looks bad. You know what I'm saying? Like even Brady when he plays bad, like there's still moments, there's still flashes, but Rodgers, it's just like he's bad. And
yeah, bro.
It's become more prevalent. Obviously, it happens a lot in the postseason. Now, listen, a lot of people are going to read in. I don't want to read a lot into it because it's week 1, and
he lost his best receiver, right? Like,
right.
That's gonna take. He's got a rookie from fucking what is it, San Diego State or not San Diego?
Christian Watson, who's got a lot of talent. North Dakota State.
I like him. I liked him in the draft.
Got a lot of talent, but he had a big drop in the game. So yeah, it's again, he's got a lot of young wide receivers. The line is an issue. The line is an issue.
It's been an issue.
Yep, it's been an issue. So listen, I don't want to make too much of it, and I also want to praise the Vikings because the Vikings look like they're much improved. But
Vikings look great.
But if you're a Packers fan and you watch that performance today, I don't want to say you'd be worried. I'd be slightly concerned that maybe this experiment with the new wide receivers may not work out the way you want it to. So that's my
Packers. To me, and not to spend too much time on it, but to me, the Packers kind of, I don't know. I think it might be a little too crazy to call this a drop off or a descent. But to me, some of the cracks in the hull, so to speak, started when the Bucks beat them, not in the playoffs, when they had that comeback victory. I'm pretty sure that game was in Lambeau the year the Bucks won the Super Bowl because they beat them, came back, beat them again in their crib. That's when I started noticing just weird shit, right? Especially with Aaron Rodgers. And then, again, not to bring out off the field shit about it, but you got him making the fucking ivermectin circuit. You know what I'm saying?
You mean the Joe Rogan podcast experiment?
You got him, being a free thinker.
And Pat McAfee.
He's out here sounding like the white Kyrie Irving. Just, I can't help but to think, right? Like, all of this shit, like, number one, like maybe his thoughts, maybe his energy is elsewhere. I hate to use the word distraction because I think it's bullshit most of the time. They're professional athletes. But it's just interesting to see what's going on with that team. And I think before I think I wrap it up, I think a lot of this, he does hold some blame in this. Like, I think, I hate to make the Brady comparison, but you consistently seen Brady make those personal sacrifices to have a good team around him, right?
I mean, he's arguably losing his wife. So, I mean, yeah.
I meant financially, but
fuck
it, we
where
can.
you're going. Yeah,
But and it seems like Aaron Rodgers has really been always on some "fuck you, pay me" type of shit, and we've seen that flesh out in every single one of these teams, save for the one that they had the Super Bowl, and they really won that because Charles Woodson went stupid all year, and that defense was incredible. Rodgers had great moments, but he wasn't the Aaron Rodgers that we knew. That's a little shady, but that's kind of how
he was becoming that guy. He was becoming.
Yeah, he was turning into
great.
him, right?
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. So, but I think that front office really deserves a lot of heat. I feel like they've done next to nothing. Drafting has been piss poor. I think that's the bigger. I think Aaron Rodgers. I don't
want to go that far because I mean they do have a good roster. They have a really good roster. They've drafted and developed well. They got a good defense. I mean the thing you can say is they don't have great. They haven't drafted and developed receivers per se. But Davante Adams was that guy. Listen, it comes down to the point that you can argue that hey, Aaron Rodgers knew he had a talent in Davante Adams, and instead of taking less money and maybe working within the salary cap a little bit. He decided to take all the money, and then you can't complain now when you have Christian Watson instead of Davante Adams. Now, would Davante Adams had stayed anyway, had they paid them money? From the reports you read, he was dead set on going to Vegas anyway, so I don't even know how much of a point that even, I guess, makes. But I get I don't know, man. The Packers
and then the Jordan Love thing too.
That's the thing you can really get on the front office about is the Jordan Love pick. That was just a brutal pick from day one, and they'll never live that down. This regime at least will not live that down. Yeah. And that was just a horrible pick because he it doesn't look like he's a player, and you just wasted a first round pick on a quarterback when you arguably didn't need one. And I can understand trying to plan for the future, but you could have done that with a third round pick, for the first round pick. I think they tried to get
would have had the same results with a third.
They've got burned, and they're paying the price of it to an extent. But I don't want to go overboard with the Packers because Washington come out next week and win.
Yeah, and not to take anything away, and I feel like to the point that you made earlier, like I don't want to use that to take anything away from the Vikings' performance today. Justin Jefferson. He's looking generational, man.
Star. As great as Stephon Diggs is, and we all know how great Stephon Diggs is, Justin Jefferson could be better.
They got it right.
Oh no, so it's just crazy.
That's one of the rare cases where they got it right.
Yeah. All right, let's run through some of these games again. We're gonna do a lot more quicker rapid fire. Again, we're trying to get out of here in an hour. We could go all day breaking down these.
Might not happen, but let's go.
Nah, we're definitely gonna do it, man. I listen. I ain't gonna have you blaming me because you dead tired and shit. So we're gonna get out of here in an hour, 5 minutes tops. I guess the craziest game of the I don't want to say year just started, but the craziest game of the day is the Steelers and the Bengals, and in the midst of a lot of crazy games today, especially in that early window. Steelers Bengals, man, 23-20, wild game, a final in OT, and I guess the theme for me is Joe Bengal, are you drunk? Joe Burrow, are you drunk? That was the worst game I've ever seen Joe Burrow play, at least as a professional. Yeah, he just, I think he had 4 interceptions, I believe, and 5 turnovers overall. I could be, but he had a shitload of interceptions, a shitload of turnovers.
And even despite that,
he had
some incredible throws and kept them in the game.
Incredible plays. Yeah, it came down to missed field goals, maybe a challenge, not challenging a touchdown that would have been a touchdown. So
yeah,
a lot of it was self-inflicted. The Steelers also had some injuries. TJ Watt out for the year with the torn pec. That's tough.
That's real tough.
Especially because I had I'm high on the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to surprise a lot of people, and I think
that defense
through 3.5 quarters, I think I was looking really smart on that. But the Steelers to still come back and win this game after all of that, that's huge. But yeah, that would be my one theme is Joe Burrow did not play a good game today and still had a chance to win.
Agree. I think again we see that the line struggled. It's easy to struggle though against that front seven. Like that's one of the probably top two, top three front sevens in the league. I'm pressed to think of one that's better or a few that are better. If probably a couple. I can't think off the top of my head, but
probably the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, you got you got Watt, playmaker. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick. I was dying laughing because he had that targeting call, and then I think it was the very next snap, very next play had the pick. I was like,
Minkah Fitzpatrick is sick, man.
Minkah, he got that shit back in blood, which was cool to see. You know what I'm saying? I had written him off. I was talking to my nephew earlier, and he was like, bro, he was like, he hit me with the "I told you so" about Minkah, and I was like, yeah, you're right, bro. Like you can have that. But yeah, I think the offensive line, the Bengals offensive line still struggled. Not to excuse Joe's performance because I think he looked unsettled, man. Like he looked off. Still has some great throws. One thing about the Steelers though that I would question is that call, that defensive call on the Jamar Chase touchdown where they had him in single coverage, bottom of the screen. I think they tried to get too cute. I think they tried to Pete Carroll themselves out of it where I think they thought that they thought that the other team was going to do some other shit instead of the very basic thing that you see right in front of your face. I think they outsmarted themselves. But outside of that, man, I think the Steelers are legit. The Watt injury is going to be really tough. And I hope it doesn't rob them of a good season because, I want to see, that division really would if all those teams have the potential to be who they are, fill up to the potential that they have to be. We're looking for some great games week in and week out, right? So I'm a little bummed out about that. But I think lastly, just special teams, bro. The long snapper.
Yeah.
Did you watch the game when when the kick got hit off the upright?
No, I didn't. Oh, well, I saw it, but I wasn't like I was
that shit hit the goalpost and sounded like a howitzer.
Yes, I heard that. Yeah,
I was like, bro, who put the mics on here?
Are they mic'd? Are the
Never in my life have I heard a doink that loud, dog.
Yeah, that was like perfectly sounding doink.
Yeah,
like,
but
totally.
I think my theme overall, though, a Super Bowl hangover for the Bengals. It's a young team.
Yeah,
I think that it's real.
I think they're not going to catch a lot of teams by surprise anymore. I think everybody knows, everybody expects the Bengals to be that team, and I don't think they're going to catch a lot of teams by surprise. But listen, I still want to give them credit because they did fight back, and they still pretty much should have won the game. Yeah. All that being said, so yeah, I think that division is going to be a dogfight. Let's move on. Dolphins, Pats. I think we can go to this one quick. It's going to be a long year for the Patriots. That's my theme.
I don't even have anything.
I see you nodding your head, so I don't even have to.
I'm up here in I'm up here in Patriots land, and I have not heard shit about this season. Usually, these motherfuckers cannot shut up. I haven't heard shit.
Tom Brady's not walking through that door.
That's my theme for this game. Is I ain't heard shit.
I hear you. Let's move on. Another crazy game. Colts Texans ended in a tie. First tie of the season. 2020 Texans. And my theme wasn't even the game because I can't say I watched too much of it. Just
I didn't see shit.
The biggest thing is Lovie Smith, man.
He keep getting jobs.
Fourth down. You punt on fourth down, and you just basically take the tie. I know it would have been a 67-yard field goal, but I don't know. It's just some things are just bad looks, right? And to me, you got to at least try to win the game somehow or another. I know something could have happened, something crazy, block kick, turn scooped up for a touchdown or a safety.
They could have got a roughing the kicker call.
Anything could have happened, right? But I think you still at least got to give yourself a chance to at least try to win the game. It's just the optics of it don't look good.
Yeah, I don't got nothing really good to say about Lovie. So
I
all
will
I'm
say
saying.
though, they played the team that a lot of people feel like are going to win that division. I feel like they played that team tough, so that's credit to them. And Davis Mills, man, listen, he might be the guy. He's a good, solid quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a superstar, but the kid can play. He's solid, and you put enough talent around him, they might have something. So yeah, that's the one nice thing I'll say about the Texans. How about that? Another crazy game: Saints Falcons. Saints win it, game winning kick, 27-26. I didn't watch a lot of this game, but the highlights I did see, Falcons got off to a big lead early. The Falcons are playing for next year and a year beyond, so I don't have much to add about the Falcons.
They playing for Bryce is what they
The
playing
Sa
for.
Yeah, well, yeah. The Saints, it's interesting because, I feel like a lot of people are high on the Saints, and to me, it comes down to the quarterback position. They have the talent as far as, I know that they've made some additions and they've cut some people and let some people go, but I still think the Saints have the requisite talent to win. To me, it's just gonna come down to Jameis Winston. Can you win with Jameis Winston? Can you win big with Jameis Winston?
Here we
And
are, full
full
circle. How
circle,
many
right?
years later? How many years later are
Full
we up
circle,
late
man.
at night talking about Jameis fucking
Full
Winston?
circle.
Except I'm not gonna be, you know, I used to be a Jameis apologist. Like I will say that
Oh,
I
you
was an
did.
apologist. I will fully own that. And and again today was Jameis. I watched this game because I be checking in on my ops. So this is the perfect example of Jameis being Jameis, right? These moments of like, yo, oh wow, what a great throw, what a great play. Matter of fact, Jameis is the opposite of Dak. When things are going well, Jameis can't function. Jameis needs chaos to thrive. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
that's all. That's all I gotta say. Still holds on to the ball too long. Um, Michael Thomas looked pretty good, and it pains me to say that because
Michael
I
Thomas
can't
did look
stand
good.
that nigga.
Michael
Uh,
Thomas did look good.
but he looked good. He looked good. Alvin Kamara, as always, good. But yeah, I agree that team's gonna go as far as Jameis. I.e., I don't think it's gonna go as well. That defense isn't as good this year to cut into the mistakes that Jameis makes or to
Yeah.
kind of cover for his deficiency, I guess is probably a better way to say it. Because it's not always an active thing that Jameis does or doesn't do, right? It's just
Mhm.
there's things that he can't do correctly or can't do well enough to win you
You know what
games, right?
Jameis Winston is, man? Jameis Winston, I used this analogy before for folks that don't watch baseball. Humor me here for a second, but he's the AJ Burnett of the NFL, right? And I say that in that he's like that starter that throws gas, 99, wicked curve, great slider, has great stuff, has the talent to be a 2020 game winner, right? But there's times where he looks dominant. He'll go 7 innings, strike out 15, and looks amazing. And then the next start, he'll go out and can't get out of the fourth inning, and he's giving up 8 runs. I mean, that's literally Jameis Winston in a nutshell, right? He has the talent. I don't think it's ever been a question about talent, but it's holding on to the football, not making the silly turnover, that sort of thing. And that has just plagued his career. And I don't think much has really changed. And that's why I really question whether the Saints are going to win big with Jameis Winston. I
Yeah,
think they're settling for Jameis Winston outside of just like we feel great about it.
yeah. I just don't think that anybody should ever have to be in a position where you have to rely on Jameis Winston.
That is very true. Let's move on. Eagles, Lions. That's another crazy game. Eagles got out to a big, nice lead. Lions made a furious comeback. Eagles ended up winning 38-35. Thing I'll say about this is I think the Eagles are going to be really good. I've been wrong on Jalen Hurts. I still don't all the way believe in Jalen Hurts, but he's starting to make me a believer. He just wins, man. The guy just goes out there, gets the job done.
Yeah,
He could be a little erratic sometimes. I get it. He's not the greatest of pocket passers, but he could be a little erratic. But he commands that team well. You can tell that team really believes in him, buys into him. I think the AJ Brown pairing is going to do wonders for him. I just think the Eagles, they were my pick to win that division. I think they're
yeah,
vastly improved. Sirianni, a lot of people knock that higher, but he looks like he's a solid coach. And yeah, I think the Eagles are going to be good, man.
yeah. I think that team is gonna go as far as that wide receiver core takes them, which is great for a guy like Jalen Hurts who doesn't have the best arm talent. Um, just gets it done though. whatever way it needs to get done, he'll get it done. I
Yeah.
think they will run into some problems down the stretch, but again, that 1-2 punch of Smitty and AJ Brown, that's going to eat in a lot of his deficiencies, and the defense is still pretty good. So yeah, I think the Lions, shout to the Lions. They're trying. I think
The
they're
Lions are on
trying.
their way back. They're on their way back.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think a lot of
They
people
just
feel better about the Lions. There's some hope there finally.
yeah. They need
Campbell,
they
for
need
all
a
the
quarterback.
corniness, Campbell, whatever, he gets that team to play hard week in and
Yeah,
week out, and that's
all that matters.
all that matters. So yeah, shout out
All
to
that
the Lions.
matters. Yeah.
Another crazy game for wrong reasons is the Bears and the 49ers, 19-10. And my theme for this is Trey Lance may not be the guy.
He's not it. I don't think so, bro. I think
yeah, maybe right.
Honestly, I never really saw it with him. One of my best homies is a Niners fan. Shout out to my guy Blake. He just don't have it for me, bro. Like, I just don't see it. Like, he watching him play quarterback is like, I don't know, bro. Like, he looks like he don't know if he's supposed to be there. Right? And I'm not even trying to be funny because he has a lot of arm talent, but I don't know. Maybe it's taken him longer to click it. Maybe it's taken long for him to feel comfortable. Like, we know comfort's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, there's talent around you. You have a very quarterback-friendly coach.
Yeah, that's a team. That team is a Super Bowl contender. If he can play well, they got a chance.
And this is the biggest thing for me about Trey is that I feel like you could put me or you under center, and Shanny would have us looking all right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the what's my man's name? Kubiak, who would just have plug and play 1,000-yard rushers in Denver back in the day. Gary Kubiak. That's how I feel about Shanahan and quarterbacks, and just kind of offensive talent in general, right? Mm-hmm. But I would definitely raise an eyebrow, 49ers fans, about Trey Lance, and this ain't helping my black quarterback agenda. It pains me to watch this week in and week out. Be rooting for them, especially light-skinned men. Like,
I don't want to sit there and say he's not the guy just yet, but I know, even though I just said it, but I would be concerned. I will say this for you Trey Lance believers out there. The fact that the Niners held on to Jimmy Garoppolo and he's still actively on that roster told me all I needed to know about their belief in Trey Lance. They can say all the right things and they can say, oh, Trey's the guy. And I think they're going to give him every opportunity to, obviously he's won the job, and I think they're going to give him the opportunity to hold on to the job. But listen, if he's got to play better than this, I mean, listen, the 49ers are a better team than the Bears. I know on paper, and when you get out there, you got to play the game. And look, give the Bears credit. They scored 19 straight points. They Justin Fields looks much improved. But the 49ers got to win that game. That's not saying a lot, but still, the 49ers give the Bears credit. But the 49ers should have won this game. And Trey Lance just didn't. I don't know, man. He didn't play a lot of football, and a part of it's not his fault. His season was canceled because of COVID. So his last year in college, he didn't really play a lot of games. And then, he came back in 2021 and played one game, essentially. So yeah, I don't know how much, I guess, snaps he's had. And then obviously last year he played sparingly. So listen, he's got to figure out. They're going to have to ride with him because they got so much invested in him.
Got no choice.
What are you going to do? They're going to have to ride with him. But I can see this where if they're like 5-5 and he's struggling and Garoppolo's healthy, how do you not go back to Garoppolo?
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is kind of to circle it back real quick is Dak's probably got to. What did Jerry Jones say? Dak's got to get hand surgery. So if he's going to miss a significant amount of time, I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry tried to swing the fences for Jimmy G.
Yeah, the only thing about that is if you're the 49ers, would you really want to help the Cowboys? I understand that, you could look at it cynically and say, oh, well, maybe the 49ers don't think they're helping. Maybe they think they're sabotaging by giving it, give me Garoppolo sucks. I get it. But still, I'm not going to give you one of my assets to help a team that I could possibly face in the playoffs. Maybe they don't think about it that way. Maybe they'll get the best deal from the Cowboys.
Yeah,
and they might make that move. I don't know, but it's hard for me to believe right now maybe I'm wrong that the 49ers will make that deal with the Cowboys, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I think I'll
I think if they don't,
reserve.
I'll say this: if they
Mhm.
don't trade him to the Cowboys, because now that's the first quarterback injury, significant quarterback injury that has happened. I think if they don't trade him to the Cowboys, that tells you everything that you need to know about Trey Lance.
Yeah, and I think maybe just before we move off, giving them a little bit of grace because of the weather. But I think even with that into consideration, I think the things that we were saying about both quarterbacks still very much remains to be seen how successful, how well they're going to play, moving forward. But the weather fucking sucked, man. I don't think anybody
Yeah,
was
that
looking
was
forward
terrible.
today.
That was terrible weather, man. But it is what it is. You got to still.
Can you do rain or shine, baby?
You got to go out there, man. A couple AFC West matchups, probably to be the best division in football. I don't even say probably. I think it is going to be the best division in football. Let's start with the Chiefs and the Cardinals. The demise of Patrick Mahomes was greatly exaggerated. That's my theme.
Yeah,
Pat
everybody
Mahomes,
was
man,
talking crazy.
The wheels just keep spinning, man. I mean, the guy is a great quarterback. And listen, I think there is going to come a time in this season. I don't know when, maybe in the playoffs, but they're going to miss Tyreek Hill and what he brings. But if anybody thinks that the Chiefs are going to just go back to being this like abysmal offensive team, listen, as long as you got Mahomes, as long as you got that system and Reed there, I think the Chiefs are going to be just fine. And the way they beat up a Cardinals team that, I don't want to say people are high on, but a team that was a playoff team last year, and people believe that at least they're going to make the playoffs again. For them to get thumped the way that they did, I think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are just still the Chiefs until proven otherwise.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think to the point about Tyreek, maybe I don't want to go so far as to say blessing in disguise, but I think this forces them away from fuck it, Tyreek's down there somewhere type of ball. You know what I'm saying? Like this really forces them to be more methodical, be more purposeful in their offense. And weird. It's gonna sound crazy to say this, but it allows them to be more creative in such a way that you really can utilize the talents in the way that they're meant to be used and in a way that they can be used, rather than I think you can be too over reliant on a person. And not to say that Tyreek is a one trick pony, but you know what you're getting out of him, right? You can anticipate what you're getting out of him. Whether you win that matchup or you don't win that matchup, that's a totally different story. But I think in terms of scheming and in planning, so yeah, and I think it was dumb for people to write off Pat Mahomes anyway.
Yeah, well, people want to see the Chiefs not be good anymore, so because they're tired of the Chiefs, obviously. But I don't. Hey, listen, as long as Mahomes is Mahomes, yeah, they're not going anywhere. So it is what it is.
Kyler better start watching some film.
And old Cliff Kingsbury there is no genius either. And today proved it. Raiders Chargers, man, this was a good game too. 24-19 Chargers, really good game, fun game. Raiders got down early, but fought back, came down, made it a one possession game, had a chance to win it, but they didn't make enough plays. Derek Carr, I don't think Derek Carr played great, but I think if you're the Raiders fan, I think well, I will say the theme for this game is I think you just got a glimpse of what this division is going to be. I think this division is going to be a war, and these teams are going to beat each other up because I think this is the best division in football, but I don't think one team is like that greater than the other teams in the division. I think they're all pretty like you have. We'll see about Denver. I have my question marks about Denver, and we'll see them tomorrow, and we'll preview that game to end. But I don't think there's like a huge disparity between those four teams. So I think it's just going to come down to those in division matchups. And you just gotta win those games, and it's gonna. I think you're gonna see this throughout that division. I think the Raiders are gonna play the Chargers tough. I think the Chargers are gonna play the Chiefs tough. Vice versa, Raiders vice versa, Broncos vice versa. I don't think there's gonna be that separation there. So I think it's just gonna come down to those divisional battles with these two teams and who can win enough of those.
Yeah, that shit's gonna be rounds 10 through 12 of a heavyweight title fight. We can every time they match up and. I think the Raiders looked okay.
Yeah, Devontae Adams had a Devontae Adams type game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, bro, you see that route he ran?
Crisp.
Bro.
Crisp. Yeah.
Like he's an absolute technician. I think they'll get a little bit better. I thought Josh Jacobs looked really good today. Haven't said that in a while. He looked explosive, which is great. And I think the line blocked a little bit better. I think they'll get a little bit better as they kind of gel a little bit more. Um, the Chargers, man, I
My only issue
just
with the Chargers is the coach, man. I think the coach sometimes can get a little cute, a little
yeah,
out there with his going for it on 4th and 90. But listen, the Chargers, I can't wrap my arms around the Chargers because they're that franchise that you just never know what you're getting with them. They lose the worst games, right? They lose the worst games, and it feels like it's just a consistent thing with them with the Chargers. So I gotta I want to see more. Not that I don't believe in the talent, I just the Chargers, their history of just being the Chargers. But listen, they're talented, they're good. So um, yeah, the Chargers are who we thought they were. So for sure.
yeah. I think they're going to be kind of the team to. I mean, it's hard to play favorites there, but I really like Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen. We'll see what that injury looks like. Just find. I
Yeah.
feel like we talk about that. We say that quite frequently.
Mhm.
But we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, that was a great game. Yeah, this division is really can go to anybody, and it's really tough to call it.
I'm sighing right now because Ravens and Jets are the final Sunday game that we'll
Oof,
talk about.
brother.
And more of the same is the theme. Um, I'm just pissed. I won't go into a tirade because we'll be here all night, but I'll just say this. The Jets have more talent this year than they've had in a long time. They played a Ravens team that I didn't think looked that great, honestly. And we still got our asses handed to us. And I think it was mostly on coaching and game plan and personnel use. And I'll leave it at that. I think that Robert Saleh and that coaching staff to me is starting to get on my are in my zone now of like, are these the guys? Because again, just the level of mismanagement that coaching staff has done with their personnel. You have Joe Flacco out there who's a literal statue at age 37, and you're having him drop back, and the offensive line played so terrible, and some of the personnel decisions, some of the play calling, the decisions that they've made. It just listen. I don't want to get it too Jets heavy because I've talked enough on enough spaces on Twitter about the Jets, but yeah, it's more of the same with the Jets. It's like literally, if you're a Jet fan, if you watch that game, that game reminds you of the Jets last year, of the Jets 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's just literally like this long running movie that you're watching with the Jets. And it's frustrating because this is the year that the Jets were supposed to be competitive, have talent, and they have talent, but more of the same with the Jets.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of this game. Can't say that it got my full attention. I just I don't have a lot of shit to say about the Jets. I think it's a team that's in transition. What year of Salah is this? Two,
This
three,
is year two. This is year
year two.
three and a half, because technically he was hired during the 2019 season of Joe Douglas, but full season in control. It's 3 years of Joe Douglas. This is year three of Joe Douglas. Yes.
And so I get that, you know, it takes time, right? But the talent versus output on the field, and I'm not going so far, and I don't think that you would even say this either. They're not a team that's contending or really close to contending, but you want to see those steps, right? You want to see some, you just want to see some shit happen.
You just want to see hope. You want to see progress. Like you
Something,
want to
just
see,
something.
hey, this team is better. And again, I believe the talent on this roster is better. It's better. We have like our draft class, our 3 first round picks all looked good. Like, to think about it, we picked a wide receiver 10 who a lot of people are high on. We didn't even start him, and we only ran 4 offensive plays for him. And the 4 plays we ran for him, he was electric. Like, that's the type of personnel decisions that I'm talking about. It's like, what are we doing? Like, you have to put your best players out there. And listen, I don't even want to get into the Jets, man, because
Yeah.
again, we'll be here all day. But it's just a continuation of what we've seen
Yeah.
for the last 3 years with the Jets. It's just like poor offensive play calling, not having a clue. And the Ravens are the Ravens. I know we haven't touched on the Ravens, but the Ravens are the Ravens. All I'll say about the Ravens is pay Lamar Jackson.
Hey,
That's it.
that was good. Bro, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's all I was gonna say.
We don't gotta say too much about it. Just pay that man whatever he wants.
Yo, that throw that touchdown that he had was just
Beautiful throw.
beautiful,
But that's the thing.
beautiful.
That's the thing. That's what
That's
makes
what,
me mad
but
about as a
that's
Jets
what
fan,
he
though.
can do
But
for
I
you.
wasn't even gonna say that. Like that's what makes me mad as a Jets fan because I thought they could have won this game. This game was winnable if you have the offensive line plays better and LaFleur calls a better game. This game was winnable because again, I didn't think the Ravens were that impressive. Like they didn't do shit really. The defense really held their ground. The Jets defense played well for 2.5, 3 quarters. They gave us some big plays there, some broken coverages, but other than that, like I thought the defense played really, really well. But again, we'll move on because we'll be here all night with the Jets. I lied. One more game that we didn't touch upon. Commanders. It's so funny to say that name. Commanders and the Jaguars, 28-22. I didn't watch a lot of this game, but from Twitter and people I know that are Commanders fans. Carson Wentz is still Carson Wentz. What's your thoughts on the Commanders? Because they're a weird team for me. I don't really know what to make of them. Ron Rivera is a solid coach, not a great coach. They have Carson Wentz. I think he's a better quarterback than people give him credit for, but I also get he's not great.
I disagree.
I also get he's not great. They have talent.
And that is exactly
great receiver. So I don't know what to read with. I don't know what to make of them. Chase Young is hurt again.
Hey, ever since he was talking about Brady, things ain't been so hot about him or with him. But I'll say this. Wentz ain't good, bro. I was going to say he's trash, but I feel like that's I'm trying to be nice. Wentz is a guy that I can't think of a good
comparison.
Wentz reminds me of Carson Palmer, not in play style, but when you have a transition time and you need a solid quarterback to come in and just handle the reins for a little while, you call Carson Wentz. Or not Carson Wentz, you call Carson Palmer. Right? That's early Wentz, all high ceiling, very high ceiling. Now, I just don't see it with him. I haven't seen it with him. Yeah. And that team has too much offensive talent for him to look that bad.
Yeah, he didn't play great. It's just kind of the same thing with him. I guess, and I don't want to say I've been a defender. Like I've been honest. Like, yeah, he hasn't played great in the last few years, and it's getting hard to defend. I mean, it's just like what you saw that guy in 2017, where he was going to win the MVP if he did not get hurt, and then to see what he is now, it's just so crazy to think like what happened from 2017 to now. It's crazy, but you're right. That team has way too much talent, and they're a good, solid football team, and not a difficult division, and not a difficult conference. That they need him to be good, and he's just maddening and consistent, man. You just never know what you get. You get good games out of Carson Wentz. He's a lot like Dak Prescott. I think Dak's more consistent over the course of like a 16, 17 game season. I think Dak's more
consistently mid.
But I think Wentz is you just never know what you get with Wentz, man. You'll have good days, you'll have bad days, you'll have days where it's just like, he'll throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, and you'll be like, wow, he looks great. And then it's like another game where he's just like
throwing 3 picks.
Does this guy even belong on the field? So listen,
they
got the win. They got the win.
Yeah.
The Jaguars look like they're improved. I'll say that. Doug Peterson's going to do a good job with the Jaguars, I think. And the Commanders will. I feel like the Commanders are like the ultimate like 9-8, 8-9 team. They literally could just go.
They're the purgatory franchise. Like when you said in the very beginning when you first started talking about the Commanders, I was gonna say that's the story of that franchise, right? Like hanging around a little bit.
I mean, at least in the Daniel Snyder years, at least.
I mean,
this guy.
Never mind. Not even gonna. That was
sitting on a boat somewhere.
That was a layup. I was like, let me just not jump for that oop. But just overall, like we're talking about this with the Bucks, right? And I was just like, man, I can't believe that we're talking about the Bucks in such a way where it's like, oh shit, this is a good team. This is a good franchise, right? Because before that, we just had this incredible fucking stink around the franchise. And teams have that, right? And it takes a while to get that stink off of you, right? I don't want to go so far as to say the Commanders have the stink on them. Changing their name got some of that stink off of them. So now it's just kind of like they're a little musty. But they're consistently not good enough to do anything, and they're not bad enough to change anything about
it. That's a good estimation. I mean, honestly, I don't even know what more to add. I mean, the Commanders are the Commanders, man. Until further notice. I mean, they have talent.
Terrible fucking name too.
Oh, I hate that. I hate even just saying it.
Christ. It sounds like an arena team.
Yes, that's like, what it sounds like. They sound like an arena.
What's that bullshit? The fan controlled league?
The fan controlled league?
What?
XFL?
Yeah, bro. Nah, dog. There's some shit where the fans like. I think T.O. is playing in that shit or something. I'll find it.
I don't know about it. That tells you how much attention I pay about it.
It's wild. Matter of fact, your boy Johnny Manziel's in that shit. Just to give you some esteemed company.
I'm not even gonna give it that much attention, honestly, bro.
Yeah. But that's where that team sounds like. They're gonna play up to the reverence that their team provides them.
And all right, I guess wrapping it up, we'll preview tomorrow's Monday night game, or now tonight, if you're on the East Coast. Monday night football game, Broncos Seahawks, the return of Russell Wilson to Seattle. Before you preview the game, what's your thoughts on the Broncos?
Russ, I think this is the year where Russ doesn't escape these kind of whispers that he's falling off. I think it's going to be more apparent that he's starting to fall off, and I think he's gonna have the bell for him to answer is going to be much more louder than it ever has in his career. Number one, he's out of Seattle. He's out of that shadow. He's out of that kind of like cult status that he has. So I think that luster is going to be off of him. That kind of affords him. It's really privilege that he's had, and rightfully so. Like he's a hero in that town. But I like the Broncos offense, man. Something about that team, I just can't quite put my finger on.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
I like the Broncos too. I'm with 100% on Russell Wilson, by the way. I don't know. They're weird. I can't. It's like I want to wrap my arms around them, but I'm like, I don't know.
Still the Broncos,
something. I'll say this. I think if Russell Wilson plays up to the level that he should play up to, I think they have a chance to definitely be a playoff team. I'll say this. I'll correct that. Stand by that. But I'll say this: out of the 4 teams in the AFC West, and I just praise that division as being the best division, and I think all 4 teams will make the playoffs. The one team I can see not making the playoffs and kind of being the dud is the Broncos. For everything that you stated about Russell Wilson, their defense, while good, is not like super great. But they should be a really good team with Russell Wilson if he plays up to that level. I don't know what to make of the Broncos just yet. I don't know. I don't want to. I think they'll definitely be better. I think they'll be vying for a playoff spot. I think they ultimately will make the playoffs, but I don't think it's a slam dunk with them like other people feel like. I mean, I've seen people think that, oh yeah, they're going to win that division, or they're going to be a 11 wins max. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far with the Broncos just yet. I don't know. And the Seahawks, they don't have a quarterback, so that's just my comment. The Seahawks are the Seahawks. They're just not. They're not ready to win. I mean, they'll be competitive because they still have a good offensive pieces, and Pete Carroll's a decent enough coach where they'll be competitive enough. But they're that team where they're not bad, but they're not good. So they'll just be like 6-11.
They're gonna go back to kind of how they were before.
Yeah.
I think about the Broncos though, real quick, is I think one of the things that I'm kind of been tossing around for the last couple months, is I think that this is a team where you have great teams who the defense isn't playing well, right? And maybe they're giving up some points or they can't quite get off the field, and the offense just does that little bit more to keep them in the game, right? I just don't think that either side of the ball here. Yeah, maybe the offense. new quarterback in a different system, and they have weapons
New
that were there before.
coach. Yeah,
New
new coach.
coach,
And we know if he's a great coach yet,
right? So I think, and I'm not real high on that hire anyway.
Yeah, that hire was
It's
I don't know,
weird.
Nathaniel Hackett, and I still have nightmares about his dad. But he was a
Yeah,
Jets offensive coordinator, but way back when. But
I
yeah,
think those
I
those
didn't.
factors. I think I just don't know if the offense is going to be good enough, consistently enough to make up for any shortcomings from the defense, and I don't know if the defense, or and vice versa. So that would be the biggest thing, besides kind of the elephant in the room that we
I
already
feel like
discussed is Russ.
getting Russell Wilson has overrated them. Like I feel like, oh well, they just see, because the chatter used to be like, oh well, if they just had a quarterback, they'd be so much better. They'd be, and I agree with that. Like I think they are better, and I'm picking them to be in the Super Bowl, or in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs. But I think that just this idea that like, oh yeah, just roll the football out there. The Broncos are going to be 12-5 or whatever. Like, nah, I wouldn't go there yet.
Yeah,
So yeah, but it's gonna be
I don't.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I'll be glad to. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see that agenda. I need Russ to help keep it alive. But he's been getting a lot of grace, and I really think that we haven't discussed a lot of the kind of him starting to collapse towards the end of the season. Like, we see it every
Oh,
year. Russ starts off hot.
if
He's playing backyard football, and
for those of you that have
down
listened to this show, you guys know that both of us have talked about it. Me and Josh have talked about it, so there's no surprise to
yeah.
anybody that's listening to here. We've talked about it ad nauseum, year in and year out. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm with
So
you,
I mean,
man.
everybody's quick to bring up Kyler Murray, which rightfully so. That second half of the season, and I think that's a larger picture to that type of quarterback, not to kind of stereotype them. But those two guys are very similar, where in a structured offense, they're good. They're capable of making the throws and making the plays, but they're at their best when things break down. Again, the chaos factor, right? Like we talk about that. And honestly, like, this may sound stupid, but like, we'll see what the weather has to do with it too. Like, you're going to get a lot of help with the altitude, but like come October, November, bro, like, I mean, I know it gets cold up there in Seattle, but Denver is a different animal. Like, I'll see what happens. Especially Russ gets banged up frequently too, and cold weather kind of aggravates injuries and makes things worse. So I just don't know, man. Like, it don't sit right with my spirit talking about the Broncos and like all this success, because I don't know, bro. Like, it just don't sit with me, and I can't quite
No, I
figure it out.
feel you. I got the same. I got kind of the same kind of vibe though. I'll wrap up with this last point. Can't blame Pete Carroll no more. That's all I'll say about Russell Wilson. Can't be, Pete Carroll ain't there no more. All right. With that said, give me a pick. Broncos or Seahawks in this game?
I got Broncos. It's not going. The Seahawks.
I'm actually gonna go with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football in Seattle. Crowd's gonna be rocking. Return
Ocean's riding high.
Yeah. I can see the Seahawks figuring out a way to win this game. Again, I'm not high on the Seahawks, but I think for this game, I think the Seahawks will find a way to win it. So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks. I think most people will pick the Broncos. I don't even know what the line is on this game, but
I was about to look and see what it is.
Yeah, find out what the line is, because I can't imagine it being crazy. It is a road game.
Hostile environment. Where the fuck is this game at?
Yeah, and the Seahawks do have talent. Their quarterback is trash. But you know how the NFL is, man. Especially week one. And we've seen surprises today, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks pulled one out of their ass, man. I'm gonna go with the Seahawks, man.
It's like Seahawks are at plus 6.5. I thought it was going to be closer to 8, but
yeah, that's not crazy.
Yeah,
but it's not
6 to 6.5 favorites for the Broncos, basically. So yeah.
I think the Seahawks will definitely cover for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they'll cover, because
this is going to be. I have a feeling this will be a one possession game for sure. Whatever way it goes, I think it will definitely be a one possession game. So I got the Seahawks, man. I think the Seahawks will figure out a way to win this game. All right, man, we got through it. It's 119. as far as the time we've been on. So we ran a little longer, but it's all good, man.
It
Let
always
everybody know
happens.
where they can find you, plug anything you got going on, that sort of thing. Plug your socials so people can follow you and whatnot.
Yeah, so y'all can find me on Twitter, Jutwick. Not as active as I be usually. Life's crazy, but always down to talk some shit about some sports and give opinions that nobody asked for.
Aren't we
But
all?
yeah, that's why I'm here. But yeah, that's it, man. Nothing crazy going on in my world, bro. Like,
I hear
no
you.
no projects popping off right now. Just focus on this move. I get the whole life in order and all of that, but
I feel you,
just
man.
shout out to all my folks out there grinding. Um, all my black folks, all my brown folks in sports industry, media, everybody out there trying to get heard. Um, keep grinding, bro.
Sure.
You, Josh, everybody out here just working hard, man.
Trying to, man.
And
Trying to.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
just keep going, bro. Somebody gonna listen. You know what I'm saying?
man.
So
Maybe they're listening now.
can't let
We'll
can't
see.
let people steal your voice, bro. So
We'll
that's all I
see.
gotta say.
We'll see. We'll see. Definitely not, man. You know how I feel about you. I you guys kill all that. You know that. So I mean, you family here, so it's all
Yes,
good,
sir.
man. As always, man, you guys know where to find me at the Manuel Brown on Instagram and Twitter, Manuel Brown on Facebook, Snapchat, MannyBro15. I'm on TikTok as well, the Manuel Brown. Yeah, man, I'm everywhere. Podcast, as always, you can follow us at AGS Pod on Twitter, AGS Podcast on Instagram, Any Given Sunday on Facebook. And this, of course, a podcast is available anywhere where you can find podcasts for free. Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeart, we're everywhere, man. So y'all already know what it is. All right, gotta get out of here. But as always, thank you guys for listening. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks with the summer break, but we are back for some NFL football. We'll be back next week, hopefully with Josh. Hopefully, if he's still alive. With I don't want to joke like that, but yeah, I don't know what I mean. Josh is feeling better with COVID, and yeah, we'll be back next week. Another episode of the podcast for Justin Tribal. I am Manny Brown. We are out of here. Peace.